The less that you want, the more that you'll get. Because do you ever find that the harder you try, the further away that thing seems to just get away from you? You want success, so you chase it. You want love, so you cling on to it. You want peace, but your mind is all over the place. And somehow, no matter how hard you try, you just never quite get there. Throughout my life, albeit not a very long one, I've learned something very, very important. And that is, the more desperate you are for something, the less likely you're actually going to get it. But why? How does that even work? How does letting go get you closer to what you actually want? I want to break that down today. So if you're ready, let's go. Yeah? Have you noticed that when you want something, your brain puts it on like a pedestal? And why is a pedestal bad? Well, it's because it creates distance. Distance between the thing that you want and you. But that distance isn't real. It's all up here that your brain essentially tricks you into thinking. Because that gap that a pedestal creates is just a breeding ground for anxiety, okay? Because, for example, if you see an attractive girl or guy or whoever, and you want to approach them, but you've put them on this pedestal before you even try, you're already kind of trying to win a losing battle. Because what happens? You freeze, or you just don't even do anything at all. Does that sound familiar? But on the other hand, if you see a friend, you're just going to go and talk to them. Because, yeah, you obviously care for them, but you don't put them on a pedestal. You don't think of them as something unreachable being, unreachable, fantastical thing that you can't obtain. You just go and do whatever you want to do. So you'll find that whenever you put something on a pedestal, you tend to don't have much of a chance to obtain it, so to speak. So I was doing a little bit of digging, and I've actually found a little study from the University of Toronto, which found that people who over-focus on their goals were actually 34% more likely to experience depressive symptoms in comparison to the people that were just detached from the outcome, only just enjoying the process. So basically, wanting something too much has the potential to just make you miserable. And yet, most people double down, grind harder, work longer, try that much more, and nothing ever really comes of it. Well, not always, because certain things you will only get through consistent hard work, such as going to the gym or going running loads. But trying to get someone's attention or trying to create a business, well, there's a lot more to it than just sheer force, right? So realistically, wanting something less is the best move you can actually make. Because, hear me out, you walk into a room without needing anyone's approval. You pursue goals without attaching your self-worth to the outcomes. You exist without craving. You just get out there and get it. What do you think happens then? People will actually lean towards you. More opportunities will open up because people gravitate towards the type of person they've become. And of course, you're going to perform and think much better because you're no longer shackled by this neediness. So how do you actually do that then? How do you genuinely want less in a world that constantly screams at you to want more and to give you more and to buy more and pursue more and all of that? How do you actually do that? Well, the answer isn't detachment, not completely anyway, because I don't want you just to think, I don't care about anything, right? It's something a little bit more than that. And I believe this will completely transform how you move your day to day. So let me explain. Like I've mentioned before, the less you need, the more you will get. And this is not some spiritual bullshit. It's genuinely psychological. When you operate from a lack of something, people see it, others can sense it. It's almost like you radiate this desire of need, and people don't really like that. But on the other hand, when you're grounded, and if you're not content with who you are, but you're working on these things rather than trying to get them from other people, you move completely differently. There's a quote that I absolutely love, okay? Desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. It makes sense, right? Because every single thing that we desire comes with a suffering of sorts, unless you're willing to shift your identity. Because instead of being someone who wants, become someone who is, as in is working towards it, working on it, trying to obtain it in a healthy way by bettering themselves and proactively doing something to actually get there, rather than just expecting everyone else around them to give it to them. A shift like that won't be instant. You can start straight away. Obviously, you won't feel it immediately. But as long as you start, that is the most important thing. And I can guarantee you that it will create this energy that will just flow towards you instead of you constantly trying to chase that energy elsewhere. So what is this behavioral shift? Okay, I like to call it the paradox of effort. And this is when people detach from the outcome during the process and just fully immerse themselves in the process itself. Athletes use this exact same mindset. Instead of focusing on just winning, they learn to love the process. They just train so hard, harder than everybody else. They immerse themselves in the process of becoming the champion. And they don't only think about winning, they just think about becoming the best. Because by being the best, you're going to naturally win, are you not? The same thing happens with, relationships. Why is it that as soon as you stop caring whether they text you back or not, or want to meet up with you, all of a sudden they just pop up out of nowhere? Surely that's not some sort of coincidence, right? I think it's all because you're no longer broadcasting this, insecurity. Instead, you're rooted, you're solid, you're magnetic, and people can sense that. And I'm not saying it's about, other people's approval, but it sure does help when people feel a certain way towards you when you're actually working on something, because you're still showing up. You're still chasing whatever it is that you're chasing, but in the right way. You're putting in the effort. You're not just expecting it to come to you. You're essentially attracting it by becoming the type of person that deserves to have that kind of thing. And the best part is, you don't have to fake this. You just live it. You just embody it. But like I said, that will take a little bit of time. But it is possible with conscious steps and movements towards your goals. Because once you get into this habit, you're going to stop asking, how do I get this? You're going to start asking, who do I need to become for this to just naturally happen? For me to just naturally obtain? It's subtle, but powerful. Because you go from external control, trying to manipulate things that you don't actually have control over, to internal growth. You quite literally become the person that attracts what they want. You can also rephrase it in a different way, because you don't just, get what you want, you get what you want by working for it, which is a byproduct of becoming the person that will naturally have that thing. I hope that makes sense. And while you're doing all that, just stop gripping to everything, so tightly, because it's like trying to, grab water with a clenched fist. What's going to happen? It's just going to escape through all the gaps, isn't it? But when you cup your hands, well, the water stays, because you're more open, you're more welcoming, rather than desperate and trying to hold on to it for dear life. Because if it goes, it goes. That's not a problem. So here's the biggest thing that I want you to take away. Want less. Not because you don't care, but because you trust. You trust that what's meant to be will find you. You trust that your value isn't equivalent of all the outcomes. And you trust yourself to become more. Not by force, but by effort. Because the less you want, the more you get. And as always, I wish you the best of luck. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.